My name is Elena, and I am 26 years old. I work as a maid in a grand house that feels almost like a palace to me. It has 5 spacious bedrooms, 3 spotless bathrooms, a beautiful garden, a clear blue swimming pool, and a tall iron gate that stands firmly at the entrance. Every day, I take care of the house, cleaning each room carefully, washing clothes, and preparing breakfast early in the morning. The house belongs to Mr. Lucas, a wealthy man who owns a large company. He is 34 years old, always dressed in elegant suits, and drives a sleek black car. Despite his status, he lives alone. He is a quiet person, someone who speaks very little, yet he is never unkind. Every morning, he greets me with a simple good morning and always says thank you. Nothing more, nothing less. When I first arrived, I felt nervous and out of place. I had never seen such a large house before. My clothes were plain, my shoes worn, and I came from a small town where life was simple. I never had the chance to attend college, but I needed this job badly. My mother was ill, and I had to send money back home. Each day, I carefully cleaned the kitchen and prepared his tea just the way he liked it, without sugar. For breakfast, he preferred eggs and toast. He left the house at exactly 8 in the morning and returned at 6 in the evening. I would prepare his dinner, and then after finishing dinner, I would quietly clean the dishes and return to my small room near the kitchen. The room was simple and peaceful, just enough for me to rest after a long day of work. One evening, the weather suddenly changed. Dark clouds filled the sky, and soon heavy rain began to fall. Thunder roared loudly, and strong winds shook the windows. I was busy cleaning the floor when, without warning, the lights went out. Everything went dark. I froze in fear. I had always been afraid of the dark, and in that moment, I didn't know what to do. Then I heard his voice. "Elena, are you okay?" Mr. Lucas called out. "Yes, I'm fine. Just surprised," I replied softly. A few moments later, he walked into the kitchen holding a candle. The soft light flickered across his face, and for the first time, I saw something different in his expression. He didn't look distant or cold. He looked gentle, kind. "Sit down," he said calmly. "I will bring tea." I was shocked. "Sir, I can do it," I answered quickly. But he simply smiled. "You are always working. Tonight, you can rest." He prepared the tea himself and handed me a warm cup. I held it with both hands, feeling its warmth spread through me. I didn't know what to say, so I quietly whispered, "Thank you." After a moment, he spoke again. "You don't talk much. Why?" I lowered my eyes and replied, "Because I am the maid." He looked at me carefully, his eyes soft and thoughtful. "But you are also a person," he said gently. No one had ever said those words to me before. My heart trembled, and for a moment, I felt tears rising in my eyes, but I held them back. That night, we sat quietly, saying nothing. The candle flickered softly between us, filling the silence with a strange sense of comfort. After that evening, something began to change. Mr. Lucas was no longer as distant as before. He started speaking more, asking me small, simple questions. "Where are you from? Do you have any siblings? What do you like to do in your free time?" At first, I answered carefully, sharing only little pieces of my life. I told him that I liked to paint. I mentioned how, as a child, I used to draw flowers for hours. I spoke about my mother and her illness, and how everything changed after that. He listened, truly listened. One day, he returned home carrying a small gift. He handed it to me and said, "I remember you said you liked to draw." I looked down and saw a sketchbook along with a set of pencils. For a moment, I couldn't find the right words. I simply held it close and whispered, "Thank you." That night, I opened the sketchbook and drew a rose. The next morning, before starting my work, I quietly left the drawing on the kitchen table. When I returned later, I noticed a small note placed beside it. "It's beautiful," he had written. From that moment, something inside me began to change. I didn't fully understand it, but I found myself smiling more often. I started cleaning while listening to soft music. In the evenings, I would sit and paint, losing myself in colors and memories. Times, I noticed him standing quietly by the doorway, watching me. It made me feel shy, yet there was a warmth in my heart that I had never felt before. No one had ever looked at me that way. Then, one weekend, he asked, "Do you want to come with me to the bookstore?" He asked. I looked at him in surprise. "Me," I said softly. He smiled gently. "Yes, you." That day, I wore my best dress. It was old, but it was clean and neatly pressed. I brushed my hair carefully and applied a little lipstick. When we stepped outside together, I could feel people staring at USA, wealthy man walking beside his maid. It made me feel small and out of place. But he walked with me as if I truly mattered. At the bookstore, he told me to choose any book I liked. I looked around slowly and finally picked a small book about flowers. He paid for it without hesitation and handed it to me with care, as if it was something precious. On our way back home, he spoke in a calm voice. "You are not just a maid, Elena. You are kind, gentle, and strong." I didn't reply. I simply turned my face toward the window, hiding my smile as my heart quietly filled with warmth. But not everything stayed perfect. One morning, his aunt came to visit. She was tall, wealthy, and carried a cold presence. The moment she saw me, her expression changed. "Who is this?" she asked sharply. "This is Elena, she works here," Mr. Lucas replied. The woman looked me up and down, judging every detail. "You allow the help to sit in the garden," she said with clear disapproval. Mr. Lucas answered firmly, "Yes, she can sit wherever she wants." Even though he defended me, I felt a deep sense of shame rising inside me. Too quietly stood up and walked inside, unable to bear the feeling any longer. That evening, I sat alone in my small room and cried. Deep in my heart, I felt the painful truth: I did not belong in his world. A gentle knock came at my door. "Elena," Mr. Lucas said softly, "don't cry. She doesn't know you." I wiped my tears and replied, "She is right. I'm just the maid." He stepped inside, his expression serious yet kind. "Elena, listen to me. You are not just anything. You are more than this job. I see you." His words were calm, but they carried a quiet strength that reached deep into my heart. I looked at him, confused and emotional. "Why are you so kind to me?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "Because I like you." For a moment, everything inside me stopped. "But I'm no one," I whispered. He gently shook his head. "You are someone. You are the person I think about when I'm at work. You are the one I look forward to seeing when I come home." I stood there in silence, my hands trembling, unable to find the right words. He reached out and gently held my hand. "Let's take things slowly," he said, "but please, never say you are no one. To me, you are everything." That night, sleep never came to me. My heart felt full, yet heavy with fear. Could someone like Mia Medrili fall in love with a man like him? And more importantly, could he truly love me in return? Was this real, or just a dream I was not meant to have? As the days passed, nothing outwardly changed. He treated me the same as always, with respect, with care and kindness. But now, there was something more. He smiled more often. He sat with me during tea, taking time out of his busy life just to share quiet moments. He looked at my drawings with genuine interest and even bought me a new pair of shoes. Slowly, it felt like I was waking up after a long, cold winter. But deep inside, a quiet fear remained. I knew that something, somewhere, would eventually go wrong. The world does not easily accept stories like Mina Maid and a wealthy man. People talk, people judge. And soon, someone did more than just talk. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Sometimes, I wonder if there is someone out there who truly understands how I feel. Just knowing that you are here, listening to my story, gives me strength. It all happened on a Monday morning. I was cleaning the living room when the doorbell suddenly rang. I walked to the door and opened it, only to find a woman standing there in a striking red dress. Her dark lipstick and long, polished nails gave her a sharp, intimidating appearance. She looked wealthy, confident, and angry. Without waiting for permission, she walked straight past me into the house. I was too confused and too afraid to stop her. She made herself comfortable on the sofa, glancing around the room as if she already owned it. Then she turned to me and asked where Mr. Lucas was. I told her he was not at home. She introduced herself as Vanessa. Then, with a cold tone, she said that she used to be his fiancée. I stood there in silence. I had never heard about her before. Mr. Lucas had never once mentioned her name. Vanessa looked at me and let out a soft, mocking laugh. Her eyes were cold and full of judgment. She reminded me that I was nothing more than a maid, and that I should never forget my place. Her words cut deep. I remained still, unable to respond. All I wanted in that moment was for her to leave. I didn't feel safe in my own space anymore. That evening, when Mr. Lucas returned home, I told him everything. The moment he heard about her, his expression changed. There was anger in his eyes. "She had no right to come here," he said firmly. "She belongs to the past." He explained that he no longer loved her. He told me how she had once left him, breaking his heart without looking back. I listened quietly, but her words still echoed in my mind. Slowly, I began to feel small again, like I didn't belong. A doubt started growing inside me. Maybe this was all a mistake. Maybe someone like him was never meant to love someone like me. After that day, something inside me faded. I still did my work. I cleaned the house, prepared the meals, but the warmth in my heart was gone. I no longer sang while working. I stopped drawing completely. My steps became slow and heavy, as if I was carrying an invisible weight. Fear settled inside me. I didn't know what would happen next, but I felt it coming. One morning, I went to the market to buy bread and eggs. As I walked through the market, I began to hear whispers around me. Two women stood nearby, looking in my direction. They pointed at me, and one of them laughed. I didn't stop to listen. I held the bag tightly against my chest and hurried away. My heart was racing. I wanted to cry. I wanted to disappear. Deep down, I already knew they were talking about me. That week, my life had somehow become public. A photo of me and Mr. Lucas at the bookstore had been printed in the newspaper. The headline read, "The Maid and the Millionaire." My face was small in the picture, but clear enough for people to recognize me now. Everyone seemed to know who I was. When I returned home, I went straight to my room and closed the door. I sat quietly, staring at the floor. A heavy emptiness filled my chest. I felt cold and very tired. For the first time, I truly thought about leaving. Maybe it would be easier for him if I just disappeared. I didn't want to become a burden in his life. That night, Mr. Lucas found me in the kitchen. He looked at me carefully and asked why I had been so quiet. "I'm fine," I said softly. But he shook his head. "I don't believe you." The truth slipped out before I could stop it. I told him about the whispers, the laughter, the way people looked at me as if I was nothing. He listened, then gently said, "They are wrong." He told me again that I meant everything to him, but this time, it was harder for me to believe. A few days later, he took me somewhere far from the noise and the judgment, a quiet place by the sea, where we walked near the waves. The sun was warm and the wind was light. I felt calm there. We did not talk for a while. Then he stopped and looked at me. He said he loved me. He said I made his house feel like home. He said he wanted to marry me. I did not move. My eyes filled with tears. I did not know what to say. I had never dreamed of this. I said yes, but my voice was soft. He smiled and held my hands. I looked at him and started to cry. I was happy and afraid at the same time. After that, everything changed again. We told some friends. He told his family. His aunt was not happy. She said I wanted his money. She said it was a shame. I was quiet. I did not want to fight. Mr. Lucas told her I was not after money. He said I was honest. He said he loved me. I did not cry that day, but my heart felt heavy. I wished people could see the truth. I wished they knew my heart. We had a small wedding. It was simple and sweet. I wore a plain white dress. He wore a blue suit. We said our vows in the garden. There were only a few guests. He looked at me the whole time. After the ceremony, we sat near the. He held my hand and said we were starting a new life. I smiled and looked at him. I still felt like I was dreaming. Now I was not the maid. I was the wife. But the world did not change with me. Some people still looked at me with sharp eyes. They still whispered. At a dinner party, one woman laughed and said, "So this is the maid who became the wife." I smiled, but inside I felt pain. After the party, I sat on the bed in silence. Mr. Lucas came in and asked what was wrong. I said nothing, but he knew. He said I should not listen to them. He said I had a kind heart. He said I made him happy. His words helped, but the pain stayed inside. A few weeks later, he got a job offer in another country. He asked me if I wanted to move with him. I said yes. I wanted to leave everything behind. I wanted a new start. In that place, no one would know I was once a maid. No one would laugh. No one would call me names. I could be myself. I could be his wife without shame. I packed my clothes and said goodbye. Tough house. It was the house where I was once the help. Now it was the house where I became someone's love. We flew away 2 weeks later. I looked out the window of the plane. The clouds were white and soft. I held his hand. I did not know what would happen next, but I was ready. I was not the same girl who started as the maid. I was stronger now. I had love, and I had a new life waiting for me. We moved to a new country. It was far from my old life. The city was quiet and clean. People walked slowly. The air was fresh. I did not know anyone there. That felt good. No one knew I was once a maid. No one stared. No one whispered. I was just his wife. We rented a small apartment near a park. It had white walls and big windows. There was a tree outside the bedroom. Every morning, I watched the leaves move in the wind. I made tea and waited for Lucas to wake up. I liked the silence. It felt safe. Lucas started his new job. He was busy but happy. I stayed home and cleaned. I cooked lunch. I took walks in the afternoon. I went to the market and spoke to people. My English was not perfect, but I tried. I smiled a lot. I wanted to be kind. Some days I missed my old life. Not the work, but the feeling of home. I missed my mother. I missed my little bed in my tiny room. I missed the sound of the broom on the kitchen floor. It was strange. I had more now. More money, more space, more freedom. But still, I missed something. One day, Lucas came home early. He brought paper and pencils. He said, "I saw these and thought of you." I smiled. I had not drawn in many months. That night, I sat at the table and drew a flower, then a small bird. My hands moved slowly, but my heart felt light. The next morning, I looked at my drawings. They were not perfect, but they felt true. I put one in a frame and placed it in the kitchen. Lucas saw it when he came home. He smiled and said, "You should do more of this." So, I did. I started drawing every day. I drew trees, windows, bread on a table. I drew my mother's hands from memory. I drew the garden I once cleaned. I drew the small room where I used to sleep. I did not forget where I came from. I carried it inside me. Later, I found a small art class near our home. I joined quietly. The teacher was kind. She spoke slowly. The other women smiled at me. They asked where I was from. I said, "A small town. I used to work as a maid." They listened. One woman said, "That is honest work." I smiled. I felt seen. Weeks passed. Then months. My drawings got better. My teacher said, "You have a soft eye. People feel something when they look at your pictures." That made me happy. I showed Lucas. He said, "I always knew you were special." One day, I made a big choice. I rented a small table at the weekend market. I put my best drawings in frames. I set them up early in the morning. I did not know if anyone would stop, but they did. A girl said, "I like this one. It feels quiet." She bought it. I smiled for hours after that. Each week I sold more. I used the money to buy better pencils. I bought warm bread for dinner. I bought small gifts for Lucas. I didn't tell him where the money came from at first. Then one night he saw the coins on the counter. I said, "People bought my drawings." He looked at me. Then he hugged me tight. That night we sat near the window. He said, "You are doing something you love. I am proud of you." I looked at the stars. I felt calm. I did not feel like a maid anymore. I did not feel like a stranger in his. I felt like myself. One evening, Lucas came home late. He looked tired. I made soup. We sat on the sofa. He said, "Sometimes I feel like I don't do enough for you." I looked at him. I said, "You gave me peace. You gave me space. You gave me the chance to find who I am. That is more than enough." He smiled. He kissed my hand. We stayed there for a long time. No words, just quiet love. That winter, my mother came to visit. It was her first time on a plane. She wore a simple coat and carried Asmel bag. When I saw her at the airport, I ran to her. She looked at me and cried. She said, "You look happy." I said, "I am." At home, I showed her my drawings. I showed her the market where I sold them. She was proud. She touched my cheek and said, "You have made a new life." We cooked together. We laughed. She told me stories I had forgotten. It felt like the world was whole again. Before she left, she said something I will never forget. She said, "You were never just a maid. You were always more." Now the world knows it, too. After she flew back home, I sat by the window. I watched the wind move through the tree. I thought about the girl I used to be. The one who scrubbed floors and walked quietly through halls. The one who felt small. She is still with me, but now she stands tall. I was his maid. Now I am his wife. But more than that, I am me. If you liked my story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming soon.